Hey ladies and gents, and welcome to the Controlled Interest Gamecast, where we talk about video games and everything happening in the industry. It's our post-E3 podcast. We're going to be talking about all of the things we loved, all of the things we missed, and the things we can't wait to get to later in the year. As always, I'm joined by Dom.
Keanu Reeves.
And Jordan.
To infinity and beyond.
Two great call-outs.
I like that.
Yeah. I thought you were going to go, Dom, with the... what did he say? You're all delightful, or what was it? His response to the crowd when he said it's going to be
You're breathtaking.
Yeah, and he's like, "You all are breathtaking."
Absolutely incredible moment.
So yeah, we'll get to that. So we're going to be going over everything. I had all three of us prepare our 5 favorite things from E3. So this could have been a game announcement, a release date for a game finally announced, a reveal of something. It could have been a moment with the developer or like Keanu Reeves. Just your 5 favorite things that happened at E3. Then we're going to go over the one thing we wished was at 3 that wasn't there. And we're going to be closing out with giving our individual lists for our 5 most anticipated games for the second half of 2019. Obviously, there was a bunch of games announced for 2020, but we reserve that for the end of the year when we do our pre-recorded podcast during the holiday break. So we'll be giving you our most anticipated 2020 games at that time, though we'll probably talk about some of them in our top E3 things. So we'll kind of go round robin here. I'll go first. The first thing I want to talk about, one of my favorite things at E3 2019, was we finally saw Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing New Horizons. It's going to be coming out in 2020. People were disappointed that it got bumped. What were you going to say, Jordan?
I was just saying you finally got the name.
Oh, yeah, we finally got the name as well. There was more people disappointed with this reveal than I was anticipating. I mean, that's kind of my thought process with a lot of E3, is there was a lot more negativity than I thought was deserved. There was some well thought out criticism that I thought was just in terms of us not seeing a whole lot of gameplay. I get that, but a lot of pessimism this year. I don't know if it's from people wanting to justify Sony not being there, or I don't know. It was very pessimistic and cynical this year, and kind of bummed me out from a lot of coverage. Thankfully, the Easy Allies guys were pretty not necessarily positive, but they were even killing a lot of things. They had a lot of criticism, but they also had a lot of things they were happy for. I like that balance. So
it was their first year in their studio, or first E3 in their studio, I should say. Well, also their first year, but it is. They mentioned that in their little kind of trailer thing that they do every year before E3 of like kind of their schedule, which I also appreciate.
Yeah.
And then Jones was like, "We're gonna do it big regardless of who's there," and I really appreciated that.
I agree. Doubling down
on Animal Crossing too. By the way, most of the Nintendo games, like they put out a lot of gameplay during the Treehouse thing going on after. Yeah. So and that was awesome, and it's actually one of the benefits of us kind of waiting a bit after the shows to do this recording is that gave me some opportunity to watch a bunch of gameplay from Animal Crossing, Luigi's Mansion, Link's Awakening. You know, that was more than just what they had in their direct. So.
Exactly, or hear from the people like Easy Allies or other journalists who got behind closed doors demos or more experience with the game. So we might actually do this in the future. We might actually wait a week every year to get all of that information so we can properly speak about our thoughts and our culmination of everything we heard from the show. But with more
details come out, you know.
Exactly. There's some details we'll get to if anybody mentions Jedi Fallen Order that I thought were surprising. But with Animal Crossing, we got the title, like Jordan said. We got a couple of details. There's some new crafting system. The way the game starts is you're going to be picking your place on the map, and you start with the tent, and you kind of build your way up to a house, and obviously the normal thing with Animal Crossing of getting furniture and decorations, and you can actually landscape a lot now. What else was there? You can move your furniture and items at half blocks instead of full blocks, which is also really cool for customization. They teased some multiplayer stuff. Obviously, at the end of the trailer, they showed a bunch of people gathering together, looking off the shoreline. From what I saw in the Treehouse gameplay, it seems like, say me and you, Jordan, both have Animal Crossing, that I can invite you to my map, and you can actually set up your own house there. And I don't know if it's your house.
From my house.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So it's a completely different thing. So whenever you come over to my world, you have progress that you can work towards as well. So you're not just transferring over, and there's like no reason for you to be in my world to begin with. So I thought that was pretty cool. There wasn't a whole lot more that I'm like surprised by. It's pretty much what I wanted in an Animal Crossing game, and I'm fine with that. The release date is a bummer in the sense of like obviously with any game we anticipate we want to play it as soon as possible, right? But Nintendo made it very clear that they're delaying it in order to make sure that the game's quality, and also separate from Animal Crossing, Nintendo talked about, game crunch and wanting to make sure their workers are in healthy, safe spaces in terms of their work-to-life balance. I'm completely fine with that. Honestly, I was under the assumption that if this game didn't come out before all of the main holidays started kicking off, that they would delay it to the beginning of next year, because like we've talked about multiple times on the podcast, it's a game that relies on all of these events for you to come back to the game, right, throughout the year over the course of days and months. So not too surprised by that. It sucks that it's mashed in the first part of 2020, like a lot of other games that are trying to get out before the next gen comes out. That's probably something we'll be talking about in podcasts to come, of all of these games. We've talked about in the past the first quarter of years being more stacked than they used to be, but there's like 5 or 6 major AAA titles coming out within like weeks of each other. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
That was my first thing. The way we'll work about this too, guys, is if one of us brings up something that somebody else had on their list, feel free to jump in, and that'll be the point for everyone that has it on their list to talk about it. So, Jordan, go ahead and hit us up with your first favorite thing from E3.
So, Animal Crossing isn't on my list, but I just want to say, since you brought it up, that I'm slowly building anticipation, and have certainly been looking for a game that's a lot more zen and that doesn't require a lot of energy out of me.
Yeah.
So I'm patiently awaiting. Take your time, Nintendo, but I'm there for it.
Cool.
Okay, so big surprise, boys. Marvel's Avengers.
Oh, cool. This isn't on my list, but I'm with you with like the Animal Crossing thing, so I can't wait to hear what you thought.
Yeah. So as we know, I'm super into comics, so that's not a huge surprise that I would be very excited about an Avengers game. I've heard the complaints. Of course,
can't escape them.
Right. I mean, I knew that people were going to be like, well, it's not exactly MCU. It doesn't... I think the reason I didn't have that issue is because I watch a lot of the animated stuff. And so I'm used to other people voicing Tony Stark or Iron Man. I'm used to... shit, I just forgot the guy's name that's playing Thor.
Travis Willingham.
Travis Willingham. I'm used to him playing Thor in the animated stuff. So it's like... It's really a pretty smooth transition for me. And I mentioned in our chat, like, when... wow, I am just forgetting voice actors' names today. Nolan North says, try to keep up as Tony Stark, and then shuts his mask and blasts it off. I'm like, I'm there, dude. I'm totally fucking down. I will say that, the presentation where they gave the trailer and then they say, we want to show you the cast, and it's Troy Baker as Bruce Banner, Nolan North as Tony Stark, Travis Willingham as Thor, and then Laura Bailey as Black Widow, and then dude who played Javier in Walking Dead is Captain America. So other than him, the Captain America guy, I will say, I think that the other 4 people that I mentioned, I think that they're great folks, and I think that they are tremendous voice actors, but developers. There's more than 4 voice actors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a tough thing is because...
Straight up. And, dude, I watch dubbed anime, so I know all about hearing the same voices over and over in different stuff. That's not what affects me. What affects me is when I know this stuff well enough to know, even just Laura Bailey, like any big female character in a video game is now her, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, at least if it's a guy, it's a toss-up between Nolan and Troy. So it's like... Come on, guys. There's so many extremely talented people out there and that are already in video games, that are already doing other roles and nailing it. and I get that you want to have like the Brad Pitts and the Leo DiCaprios of voice acting essentially, but I think it's a little much this time when they like introduce the video, and I'm like, it's not going to be Nolan North and Troy Baker and Laura Bailey and Travis Willingham, is it? And they literally walk in and sit down on the couch. I'm like, God, fucking Jesus Christ, man.
The thing that sucks is, like, if you were to say who would be the voice cast of an Avengers game, they would probably be the ones you name because they are, like, the Avengers of voice actors in video games. But the thing that sucks, like you said, is that they're literally in almost every other AAA game. So, to that point, it's unfortunate that they're all grouped together once again. If we were living in a bubble, right, and this game came out before any of the other games they were featured in, be like, oh, this makes sense. This is the Avengers cast you want. But the fact that they're in all these previous games, they're like, oh, it's all of them again.
Other superhero games, like Troy and Laura are Batman and Catwoman in the Batman Telltale series. Right? Like, yeah. It just keeps, like, stacking on top of itself, right? And it's like, all right, guys. And here's the thing. I think that this is no one's fault but the developers, because I don't think this is publishers coming from the top down saying, we want to get those big famous ones. Get that Troy and Nolan guys in there. I think this is developers being like, oh, we have a budget for voice acting. Who should we choose? Well, dude, Nolan North and Troy Baker are awesome. Yeah, and Travis Willingham and his wife Laura Bailey, they're really good too. It's like,
well, the crazy thing is,
it's a weak choice, you know.
If it was the Coalition or like Naughty Dog, it's like, well, they worked with them before, but the fact is that I don't think any of them were in the Tomb Raider series, right, or Deus Ex.
Not that I know of,
to my memory. So it's like, it's not. There's not even that previous working relationship where you're like, oh, of course they'd bring them in because they've worked with them before. My hope, honestly...
It reminds me of like a popularity contest sort of thing, you know?
Which sucks because they are very talented, but to your point, there are so many people out there that I would like to see given the chance, because this is the type of role in a video game that could catapult them towards the Nolan North and Troy Bakers and Laura Baileys, right? And put them in that echelon. But instead, you're giving it to the people who have already reached that place. My one wish is I hope Dave Fennoy gets to be War Machine. Just add another one of that grouping. Just bring on Dave Fennoy to be War Machine or something. I just like Dave Fennoy's voice.
He's a guy that pops up in tons of stuff. Animated movies, TV shows, video games. But he's usually just a character. He's not an extra. But he's not a star either. And it's like, how is that guy not fucking starring in almost all these video games?
Hutchinson, I can't remember her first name. The lady who does the girl who does
Laura...
maybe it's Laura Hutchinson, but Jesus Christ, Clementine's voice actress. Yeah, I think she's worthy of a lot of opportunities too, because I think she's great. So
I would have really liked to see Vanessa Marshall. She's known for doing Star Wars Rebels, and she's Gamora in she's Captain Syndulla in Rebels. And she is Gamora in the Guardians animated show. And I think she'd be an awesome Black Widow. But we're going down the rabbit hole here.
Yeah.
Well,
we are at the bottom of the rabbit hole.
It's a cool conversation, though. I mean, we've been going on for a bit already, but it's cool. It's on one hand, it's really cool that video games are at a place where the voice actors are now a marketing point, right? Where it's cool, like, guys.
Well, but Dom, that's the thing.
You know,
those four that we're talking about. Only those four are a marketing thing.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem of it, yeah.
Anybody else in that role, unless they're a celebrity from like
outside
live action stuff,
is
not a selling point, but they could be. They're talented enough to be, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And when the guy was like, I'm whatever my name is, playing Captain America, and then the Easy Allies said later, yeah, use Javier from season 3 of The Walking Dead, I'm like, fuck, that's awesome, you know.
Or
and it's like just one new guy, really.
The guy who played Joker in the Batman series too, the one that kind of looks. Didn't he audition for Solo as well?
Harrison Ford. He might have. His name is Anthony Gruber.
Yeah, he's great too. I wish he. Yeah. My hope is, Jordan, that with the additional characters we get, which they announce all the characters are going to be free, I hope that we do see a spotlight on them with those really cool like fighting game style reveal trailers, and we do get a peek at the voice actor behind them. If you're not going to take the opportunity with the main cast, do it with the extra characters that are going to be added. That'd be great.
And just like Willingham reprising his role of Thor from the animated stuff. I would love to see some more of that. Like, Phil Lamar has played Black Panther. He's really awesome.
Milena Vaintrub as Squirrel Girl would be dope.
There's obviously a plethora of Spider-Man voice actors that you could choose from. I liked that Spider-Man PS4 had the same Miles Morales voice actor as in the animated show. So stuff like that I can really appreciate, especially for superhero voice actors. So anyways, just the game in general, real quick, I will say it looks great. I know that there were complaints from the gameplay demo that it's just not quite there, and that it's not maybe the combat isn't as awesome as you want it to be, and some people connected that to the fact that, like, comparing that to Spider-Man's one guy, and they focused all their combat mechanics on him.
One character. Yeah,
this is 4 characters to start with.
It's a year out too, so
right.
They've got time,
and I know that everyone's going to compare this to Spider-Man PS4. That's fine, but I'm not necessarily going to be doing that because it is a different deal. It's a different studio. It's not an exclusive. There's a whole. Yeah. I mean, there's a laundry list of differences if you actually look at it and don't just do the knee-jerk reaction of, oh, they're superheroes. It's the same thing. But it happens, and I think that this game probably won't have as high of a Metacritic score as Spider-Man when it's all said and done. But I think that it is going to have a solid single-player campaign. I know a lot of people are worried about that. I think it's going to have a solid single-player campaign, plenty of fun stuff to do multiplayer-wise, and I think it's going to be a very satisfying Avengers game, especially, it's probably the start of a franchise, so who knows where it could go from there. But
I'm with you. I don't think there's a chance that this game is any less than good. Whether it is great, who knows, but I can't see it being any less than good. One thing before we get to your first favorite thing of E3, Dom, a great thing I heard is that the combat design, the guy who worked on God of War and the Leviathan axe is working on the Thor's hammer in Avengers.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's great.
Right? Because I heard, some impressions saying it's not as good as God of War throwing the axe, but it's weird that it's the same guy.
Interesting, because so I heard that too. It's the whole thing with the demo, Jordan, that you talked about, how like some people felt it wasn't there yet. There was other people I listened to their impressions of it, and they seem like they're like, oh, this game is a year out. Looking at the hammer, it seems like it has the potential to be the Leviathan axe. Is more of a positive approach to it, of like you see instances of it, but it's not fully there. And from hearing from developers, a lot of that stuff, a lot of games come together in the last like 8 to 12 months,
Oh, for sure. One last note on the facial animations. People were kind of griping about that and saying it's not all the way there. Dude, I don't know what the fuck people want. Like,
I thought it was
people
good.
Not understand that we aren't there yet. Like, shit isn't totally photorealistic, no uncanny valley. Like, it's there. Like, you're playing a video game, You're not playing an interactive version of the live action Avengers movie. It's just the way it is. So when people bitch about that, I'm like, dude, it looks fucking great. And not only that, but like the in-game cutscenes that we get nowadays are essentially better looking than the CG trailers and cutscenes that we used to get not even 5 years ago. So when people bitch about it, I'm like, dude, you just like, it looks crystalline, it looks so fucking pretty. How can you be bitching?
I love that scene too. I thought it was emotionally captivating with Tony and Bruce. It was a weird cut, in the middle of the presentation in terms of pacing, but the scene, standalone, I thought it was really good.
But, I mean, right there, Jared, 30, 45 seconds, and I'm like, Nolan and Troy fucking killing the game over here.
Exactly. Of course, Nolan and Troy. Dom, hit us with your first one.
Hands down, the best moment out of anything the entire week, and the game I'm most excited about in general. Just the best thing I've thought from E3 was hands down Cyberpunk.
That's on my list too.
Whoa! Yeah. I thought you were about to say Breath of the Wild too.
No, I mean, potentially that could have been, but I mean, we didn't. There wasn't really much there, right?
Sure.
That's exciting in a sense of like, oh, sweet, that's coming, and it might be sooner than we would have thought. But Cyberpunk was like, I mean, it's not as often anymore. I feel like we get awesome, like, crazy E3 moments, right? Like surprises. And obviously, like, the way the fact that was kept secret, at least from me, I guess some people knew. I don't know how, or I guess you just got to stay off certain forums like the day before because everything.
Are you talking about
out.
Keanu?
Yeah. So the Keanu reveal in the game when he just like picks you up and leans over you or whatever and like
says,
we got a city to burn. Like that was nuts. And then to follow that up,
you're seeing him glitching, but it's neck down, and you just hear, "Get the fuck up, samurai," and I was like,
"Yeah."
That wasn't Keanu. And then he bends down, and you see his face with sunglasses on. And I literally jumped out of my chair and stood up and started screaming in my house, which I don't do for anything.
I know.
And then he takes them off, and it's totally him. And you just, wow.
The funniest thing is like,
that up,
I think most people
coming onto stage.
Yeah, I think most people thought it was going to be one of those like lame stingers, that happens at the end of every trailer. So it's like your character dies and it's like time to get going, and then it cuts. And I don't think anybody expected it to be, oh my god, Keanu Reeves. But to your point too, Dom, him walking out is like, oh my god,
unbelievable. And then he's just up there being a goofball, and it's awesome.
There's leaks that everybody knows about and that are well documented. Elden Ring is a perfect example of that, right? Or even George Martin blogs about like working on a Japanese video game, and it's like, I think we can connect that to the Amazon Japan listings or whatever the fuck we had. So there's that, right? But then there's also ones where dudes that like work on that maybe are just working on Avengers Endgame for one day, right? There's this guy that just decides to post like in a Reddit thread of like, what would be the craziest thing of Avengers Endgame? Dude just goes, Fat Thor. Turns out that was real. He was leaking that, and somebody actually did that with Keanu.
Yeah, but nobody believed it because it's like, why the hell?
And that's what I'm talking about. It's like we have the Elden Ring leaks where it's like, oh, well, we can connect this to that and that to this, and we know like there's corroboration from Kotaku people or whatever. But then there's the stuff where it's like Fat Thor or Keanu's in Cyberpunk, and people are like, dude, that'd be so fucking crazy, man. Wow, that'd be awesome. But nobody believes him, and then it turns out to be true. That's the coolest.
Yeah. I don't know. The whole moment, I just like, I was the same way, Jordan. I mean, I wasn't screaming, but I was just sitting there watching this thing by myself, right? And I
screamed.
got visibly excited. I was like, oh, look. And then I did it again when he walked out, and I was just like, mind was kind of melting. The game looks sweet too, by the way. I'm really excited. So like, more than ever before, I'm getting excited about the setting and the style of everything in like that world. Normally, I'm more into like the fantasy style stuff. Not that this isn't fantastical, but obviously it's a a cyberpunk world or whatever. So I'm really starting to like get dug into like this whole like 80s aesthetic. I don't know what you call it, but
cyberpunk has its root in the 80s for sure.
Yeah. And like a lot of the technology and the stuff that's going on, and like I'm just getting pumped. So it's just I'm fucking cyberpunk, man. So, I'm ready.
It was on my list too. I was disappointed with this game that we didn't see gameplay during the show. I mean, I shouldn't. Disappointed, but not like sad. Like the Keanu Reeves thing was great. I'm satisfied with the whole thing.
Why do they do this, Jared? Where they do a trailer on stage, do a ginormous behind closed doors demo, and then however long later, a week, 2 weeks, a month, they're like, oh yeah, here's that demo.
So I think this year
it was they're about to do that with this one too, right?
Exactly. I think this year, not specifically Cyberpunk, but other games, it's a product of, I think, the Anthem and Fallout 76 situation, where I think the general audience doesn't understand like games are mostly broken until they release, right? They come together at the last moment, and especially, I mean, The Witcher 3 was broken at launch. And then obviously it won Game of the Year and it was fixed and fine and everything. And I think obviously Cyberpunk's gonna have some issues at launch, as we expect, because it's
Witcher 3 broken?
There was a lot of game-breaking bugs and stuff in the game.
I mean, there were like bugs. I had.
I remember the controls were a little wonky.
I had a Gwent bug that basically fucked up my whole Gwent situation. And there were certainly like frame rate issues, but I wouldn't say necessarily.
I guess broken is a strong word.
More than any other game, especially open world.
Broken was too strong of a word. Fallout 76 was broken. Yes. Yeah. Broken was a strong word, but yeah, Dom, there was that issue too with the controls. Anyways, it's just I think they want to play it safe. if they wouldn't have done the one last year, I would have been a little bit better with it this year. But the fact they're doing the same thing 2 years in a row is kind of weird. And man, with Cyberpunk, I'm in a tough place. So I know that game's going to be incredible. I'm buying it day one. I'm just not excited for it right now. I know we talked in chat about the gameplay that they're going to be releasing at PAX West, and both of you are like, "Oh, I'm kind of media blackout. I'm sold on the game already," which I completely understand. Yeah. For me, I want to watch it, but it's weird because like I don't need to watch it to validate that it's going to be a great game because I already know it is, especially based on last year's demo. It just I need more in order for me to get excited about it. I don't know what it is because like I'm not down on the game. I'm not worried about it. I can't wait to play it, but I'm just not like hyped about it. I'm like super excited about like Animal Crossing and Avengers, even though Cyberpunk will probably be a way better game if all things come together. I'm in a weird spot with that game. It's very
odd. Something that you just brought up that is a very valid criticism that I'm hearing pretty often about this E3 is big lack of gameplay shown.
Yeah.
For press conferences specifically. And I really have to say I agree with it. That you could feel a shift from last year to this year, how much less gameplay and demos there were now. I certainly think there's something to be said for tightening that stuff up. There's been ones in the past that are way too long and superfluous, but it was almost non-existent this year, especially as I looked back after watching all those press conferences. It was wild.
Going into this E3, who would have thought that one of the games we would see the most gameplay from was the EA Star Wars game? Like Fallen Order had some of the most gameplay at any.
Yeah.
I think for me there was 2 games that I was extremely disappointed didn't have gameplay, and there was one that I was bummed with. Cyberpunk is the bummed one. I'm like not super disappointed, but it's like come on. The 2 that I was...
Second year in a row for Cyberpunk, and it's coming out before next E3.
You know what game comes out before Cyberpunk that didn't have any gameplay at E3? Gears 5.
Yeah. Well, and Avengers.
No, and that was my other one. So those 2 are the ones that I'm like actually disappointed didn't show gameplay.
That's the thing. It's okay if you don't want to show gameplay last year Cyberpunk, but this is your last E3 before you come out. How are you not showing gameplay?
Yeah.
And especially if you're the fucking Avengers game and you have Square do this live show that they don't usually do, and you have this awesome demo example at the beginning of the show with Final Fantasy VII Remake, how the fuck are you not going to show us gameplay for your coming out party? That was whack.
Yeah. Anything left to say about Cyberpunk, Dom, before we get to my next one?
So I'll just say about Cyberpunk since it was on my list as well. Obviously, you guys know my excitement for this game is out of control. Though it is constantly tempered by the reminder that it's only in first person. Still upset, by the way.
I always forget about that, yeah.
A year later. And that's what's upsetting about it, Jared, is when it's like, people are talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be fucking awesome. And then I see video and I'm like, oh, this is in first person. Oh, I can't see my character that they're talking about all this customization for. So that's obviously my one big hang up on it. But other than that, I think that since we really didn't see much gameplay, it was really down to just hearing the people talk about it that saw the demos, and they were even more hyped than they were last year coming off of it, and they were serious. They were like, listen, I know I'm hyping the shit out of this thing, but there's reason for it. And then they backed it up with really cool points on all this different stuff that you're going to get to do and see and mess with in the game. So, very excited.
The interesting thing, too, is like for me, I think the story will be good, but I'm more excited about the role-playing aspect of the game and having my own personal experience as opposed to like the narrative, right? So
obviously there's Mass Effect, but I think we can all agree as seasoned gamers that role-playing games, because of the natural evolution out of Dungeons and Dragons tabletop role-playing, a lot of role-playing video games tend to lean more on the fantasy side as opposed to sci-fi.
Yeah.
So it's really great that we're getting such a deep RPG from a deep RPG developer that's already done the fantasy stuff, and now they're doing hard sci-fi. I really like that.
And we're getting 2 within a year. We're getting Outer Worlds, which I hope is really good from Obsidian, and then we're getting Cyberpunk, which is going to be dope. My third one, so like you said, Keanu Reeves, Cyberpunk was on my list too. I already covered Animal Crossing, so I got 3 left. This one is not going to directly affect me in terms of the game because I don't think I'll play it anymore. But Banjo-Kazooie getting revealed for Smash, I thought was really cool. It's
interesting. So it's on your list, but you don't think you're going to end up playing it.
Yeah, the reason it was a favorite of mine is because it was something that was rumored for so long and people wanted for so long, and the way it was revealed. At the beginning we got the Dragon Quest guy revealed, and people were like, "Oh, that's the Smash character reveal. He's going to be the next one."
Journalists were typing up their articles about how disappointed they were that the DLC character was just the Dragon Quest guy, right? People were just ready for it to let down, and then you're right.
It's not that it's not cool that he's in it, it's just that he was expected, right? There was no surprise. But Banjo came out of nowhere. They played on the trailer that revealed King K. Rool when he was announced for Smash Ultimate. And it's the only partnership between Microsoft and Nintendo we saw this E3. People thought we were going to see Nintendo on E3 stage. There was rumors, I don't know if you guys saw these, 20 minutes before the Microsoft briefing, that Miyamoto was going to be on stage with Phil Spencer at some point during the conference. There was large rumors about that, and then they didn't come to fruition. I just like this because this gives a chance for Rare Replay to come to the Nintendo Switch. And as somebody who loves Rare but moved to Xbox, I've had no issue with getting to play their games, right? I know there's tons of Nintendo fans who are hardcore Nintendo, only buy Nintendo things, and they've wanted to get back to playing those Rare games that they grew up playing when they were a kid. So this move of Banjo being in Smash is great for all of those people. And this opens up the door for, I don't know if Master Chief really fits, but Conker would be a cool addition to Smash, or these more cartoony characters.
So Jared, interesting point. I know you're not, you haven't followed Colin Moriarty on his newer endeavors, but he was talking about how he had it on pretty good authority several years ago that there were talks about Master Chief Collection on PlayStation.
I could believe that. The several years ago part, yes. I think
I definitely don't think anytime in the last couple years, but I was just like, whoa, what the fuck is... I think he's pretty solid about not just blabbing about sources types of stuff, but that didn't make any sense. Stuff from his sources. But and I would definitely, he obviously has reliable sources as long as he's been in the industry, so I was just really surprised about that.
And the surprising thing is, so we've talked about before on the podcast how Satya Nadella, the CEO at Microsoft, he has a really good relationship with Phil Spencer. Apparently, he has a really good relationship with Phil Spencer. He trusts him wholeheartedly in Xbox, and he believes in what Phil wants to do with the brand. And
going out extra hard, huh?
And there was people who have talked about that Xbox was likely headed in a different direction in terms of fully devoting themselves to service-based stuff without worrying about their own console and stuff like that, right? And it seems like Phil was the one that was like, well, yes, let's pursue all of this service-based stuff, but let's still have our own home for people, right? And he thought that was very important. So that's why we see him in this middle space of they want to push their services. They don't care if you play their games on phone, PC, or Xbox, but he made it a point that he wants to have an Xbox console in people's homes. So it was very interesting. I to your point, I don't think that. I think that was probably I think Colin's pretty solid on that. I wouldn't deny that if it was several years ago.
The only reason I would ever suspect it is just because it's so fucking wacky to think about.
Yeah, especially if it was during the Wii U era.
Well, now that we've gone through all this Nintendo stuff, it's easy to say, but as far as Microsoft goes, I could see them going with Nintendo way before PlayStation. Yeah. So the fact that may not have been the case is weird.
That was it for me for Banjo. I doubt either of you had that on your list. So, what's your next one, Jordan? We already covered Cyberpunk and we covered Avengers, right? So you have 3 more.
Correct.
Cool.
So, I would like to shout out Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Not on my list, but there with you. It was really impressive.
Wow.
I was surprised.
Now, this is the type of presentation that they should have done for Avengers.
Agreed.
They should have just done the exact same thing twice, but with 2 different games, and you wouldn't have even... Like, the format would not have mattered, you know?
Yeah. And then we could have just turned off the rest of the conference, too.
Well, he meant not back-to-back. I wish it was back-to-back, Dom. But yeah,
he just was really into the Square Enix stuff. I know I'm probably a lot more into the Japanese side of stuff than you are, Dom, but so I can see how someone that isn't would not necessarily be interested in that conference. But with it being like anime thing after anime thing, I was just like,
the weebs were
cool,
riding
dude.
high.
This is pretty fucking cool, dude. So yeah, Final Fantasy VII. It's really interesting because I've obviously been playing it, talked a little bit about it. Started on PS4 and then waited until the Switch version came out, and have now progressed past the exit of Midgar. So all of the stuff that they're showing, I'm familiar with. I've seen everything that this first game is going to have to offer, which makes me think, like, what if I played like a chunk of Final Fantasy every 3 years, Final Fantasy VII? Like, instead of just playing the game outright before the first one comes out.
Remember we talked about how I'm going to play it before this one comes out? The old one?
Yeah.
This is great because this means I only have to play till the end of Midgar, which, from what people say, is like 5 to 7 hours, give or take.
Yeah, I am definitely under 6. You'll finish under 6,
okay.
Jared, for sure. Looking at my play clock. So, yeah, it is... such a fantastic remake, and I can at least say that the characters that they're showing in this section of the remake, or this part 1, I am familiar with and do have an attachment to. I'm not going to try to act like I'm, the biggest Final Fantasy VII fan in the world, but it is interesting to see the ways in which they're expanding upon what was already there in the main game. Like the other members of the cell that Cloud and Barrett are in are actually characters, as opposed to just having 1 or 2 lines and barely being there at all throughout the game. Even, not that far in as I am, 6 hours. They've been long gone for a while. So stuff like that, and then the city itself, and then the sequences that they showed themselves have all been expanded upon in a really cool way, in a way that is both faithful to the original and new and fresh and creative at the same time. So everyone was commenting on how the boss battle that they showed at the end of the reactor that you're blowing up, it's like a super short battle. It's kind of dinky boss battle in the game. It's your first boss battle, and it's some first boss battles in JRPGs are really punishing, but this one certainly isn't. And so when they're spending 10-15 minutes on this battle during the demo, maybe not 10-15 minutes, but I think they actually skipped over parts in the demo, but it just goes to show like what they're trying to do with this. And I do think that they are justifying expanding this and breaking it into parts. At first, before this presentation, I was like, yeah, no idea why you would need to break this into parts, because they hadn't mentioned that they were expanding upon it, or at least to the extent that they would be. And so now, with all that being said, I'm much more comfortable with it, and I'm much more satisfied. Then you get into the actual combat, which is obviously very important to me, as you well know. It is, to me, it seems like the absolute perfect balance for a remake, because you have the more Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy 15 style action RPG combat, and then you have like the tactical version, which is much closer to a 3D rendering of the turn-based combat from the original. And I think it's absolutely genius the way that they did it, and I don't know that you could ask for a better melding of the two without just going one way or the other. So that certainly looked great, that aspect. The visuals have been improved, and they've Tightened up some of the characters. Obviously, we saw Tifa for the first time. That was awesome. Uematsu is coming back for the music, coming out of retirement. And it's weird how I'm already recognizing musical themes in the trailer from the first few hours of the game and how they're kind of mixing and mashing those. So I thought the format of the presentation was very well done as opposed to the Avengers, unfortunately. But yeah, they just nailed it, man, with this Final Fantasy VII stuff and got me so damn excited for that game.
The great thing is at the end of the next fiscal year, Square Enix's numbers are going to be great thanks to Avengers and Final Fantasy VII Remake, because both those games are going to sell like bonkers.
And just like thinking about them having those two properties and like showing them off at a single press conference, it was like, that's fucking awesome. Like, for you guys got to be really excited, you know.
Well, and I think that's why they could get away with the middle part that was completely hit or miss with people, right? Like the U's of the world and the like me and Dom's of the world. It's like either it was like the worst middle of a conference ever, or it was like really enjoyable throughout.
There were plenty of slow parts throughout that and random shit that I was like, why the fuck are we talking about this? But when they're remastering random JRPGs, I'm like, fuck yes, dude. Give me that Final Fantasy VIII on the Switch. Give me that, Last Remnant remaster. All that shit. I'm about it. So.
I did like the presentation too with the paintings because it leaves mystery, right? I like mystery. Yeah. So it's like, oh, what is this painting? Dom, I didn't have Final Fantasy VII Remake. What's your next one on your list?
Elden Ring.
Woo!
Now, what they showed at the Microsoft conference, really not much at all to it. And we already knew that this was a thing. We knew what it was called. We knew George R.R. Martin was consulting on it. So the actual trailer, some weird abstract.
Didn't we think it was called Great Rune?
We thought, it was a project. Not project, but it was known as Great Rune.
Great Rune.
And that's a prediction I got right. I was like, it wouldn't be named Great Rune in our podcast.
But it was like 2 or 3 days before, like, Schreier confirmed, like, it's called Elden Ring.
Well, he didn't confirm they're back. Bandai Namco's back into their website was posted onto Reset Era. They basically posted everything on the back end and anybody could look at it, and that's where Tales of Arise got leaked, Elden Ring, and... Okay. What was the third title? It doesn't matter.
He must have just tweeted that, and that's why I thought it was him.
Yeah. Not surprising. It's Jason Schreier. But man, knowing that information took the wind out of the sails, and that's why it's not on my list. Obviously, it's one of my most anticipated games, but... Like, imagine not knowing any of that and watching the trailer, and it's like, Miyazaki, and you're like, and who the hell cares? It's Miyazaki.
Well, but you would have already known because of George R.R. Martin's blog post.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm saying. This thing got leaked from so many angles. Like, there's no way you were going into this
unfortunately.
Not knowing. Like, who the fuck was surprised when that second name popped up and it's George R.R. Martin, And so it's just like...
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of sucks because that kind of is the big... That's the wind in the sails of the trailer. Other than that, it's pretty sparse.
Well, yeah, From's trailers are always, like, abstract. Remember the Game Awards reveal for Sekiro? We didn't know anything. We just saw this weird, like, mechanical thing, and it's the next From game. We didn't even know it was Sekiro was based on, Shinobi or Samurai or anything.
Everybody thought it was Tenchu.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you get that. You literally just get arm flexing, and then sometimes you get Bloodborne, where it's the opening cinematic, and it's, the hunter walking through the streets of Yharnam and slaughtering these monsters, which is very representative of the game. So I would want a little bit more from a trailer, even a CG trailer, because it's just, I mean, other than a guy like clamping an arm onto his shoulder, it's like just a person like hammering a weapon or a ring or whatever, just a forger.
I think the trailer was just based on people getting surprised by George R. R. Martin, And that's the unfortunate thing, because once we knew about that, then the trailer's like, bleh. Anyways.
So despite all that wind out of the sails, like, I'm with you guys 100% on, like, that. The actual trailer was kind of like, okay, yep. But it was just confirming what we knew. But what actually got me the most hyped are the details that came out in some of the interviews with Miyazaki afterwards, like the following day and stuff, about how it's even more of an RPG than Dark Souls, like they're turning back the other direction. or with Bloodborne and Sekiro, they started to make it more action-focused and faster, but this is now them steering the other way, which has me really excited in that it's a larger open world. And then obviously our friend George R.R. Martin.
That interview with Xbox was great. The one where I tweeted out all the little tidbits. It's fantastic.
Yeah. That was the stuff that, like, for me, that spoke to me. Like, that just got me, in a tizzy, just like, oh, yes, let's do it. Even though, obviously, that's not, like, great E3 moment type shit for the masses, obviously. But I was like, yes, let's go.
Yeah.
I know that, Sekiro was published by Activision, and people think that's why it was a little more open, a little less open to interpretation, a little more direct. Had the cutscenes, had the through line of the story that is a little less direct in other From games. Have we turned a corner with From games, do you guys think? Like, are we getting any more obscure, you got to look up the lore online just to understand it type games? Or are they going to have cutscenes from now on?
So Miyazaki talked about that too, and from what I could figure out from his interview or whatever, Elden Ring is going to go back more towards the Dark Souls type of storytelling.
Okay. Even from the trailer, it seemed that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Oddly enough, I don't even know how I'm saying that, but I will just say, if you're showing me what From was able to do with a Victorian cosmic horror vibe and Bloodborne, and now you're telling me that these motherfuckers, after doing a samurai game, are going to do Celtic lore featuring George R.R. Martin behind some of that stuff. Holy fucking shit. The combat stuff that you mentioned, Dom, sounds awesome, but I am so bonkers excited for the lore of this game because Celtic lore definitely is fucking cool. We finally got some of the Viking lore, the Norse mythology that I've been craving for so long. And so now to see hopefully Celtic lore coming around into the limelight and in such an exciting situation, such exciting circumstances. Wow, I'm over the fucking moon for that shit.
I'm ready. Let's go.
I want it to be next year, but like with the stack of everything coming out, I don't know if it maybe waits a while. Who knows?
It's next year. I'll bet a paycheck on it.
I mean, they produce games way too quick for it not to be.
Yeah, I guess not the same time frame that we're used to. Like, I could see this not coming out at the traditional, like, March time frame. Yeah. And maybe coming out towards summer.
Well, let's see. Sekiro was just earlier this year. But it's obviously, I mean, they've been...
It's confirmed to be 3 years in development. Games. So, it's been in the works for a while.
Yeah, they've done back year-to-year games for a while, so...
We've gone quite a bit on the other ones, so I'm going to go through my last two pretty quickly so we can move on to the other stuff. Obviously, you guys have yours left, too. So, my last two. One, the Halo Infinite trailer. I really liked it. The tough thing with Halo is it's a franchise that's so big that people got to the point where they stopped caring about it because it's like, oh, it's a dude in the green suit that shoots stuff. And I think you have to humanize it in order to reintroduce it to people who aren't already sold on Halo. And I thought that trailer was very good at humanizing the world. Obviously, you follow this one specific guy missing his family away from home. I love the reveal of Master Chief floating in space. I thought that was really well done, especially with the piano key in. And then the second reveal of him being like, Master Chief, we lost. And then Master Chief walking up to the front of the ship and opening the door and seeing that the Halo is completely devastated.
Some cool stuff going on there, man. What Halo. I like that they accentuated how fucking giant a Spartan is next to a normal sized man.
Oh yeah, that's always cool.
Oh, just the subtleness of him, like when he brings him into the ship and he drops down and gravity hits him. He's like, yeah, great. Yeah. The other one wasn't a game, though. I think Ghostwire looks cool. I love Shinji Mikami, obviously famous director of the Resident Evil series as well as Dino Crisis. Him passing the proverbial torch to Ikumi Nakamura, who was the director of Ghostwire that came out on stage and stole everyone's hearts with her presentation and her very authentic personality. And
dude, I was watching that like, holy crap, the weebs are going hard.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You could just, like, she's doing things that anime characters do, and you've already had this conference of, like, these weird Fallout fans that are all in cosplay just constantly screaming for every single thing that happens, and I'm just like, oh my god, the otakus are just balls to the wall right now.
It's just great because obviously Mikami's well respected for everything he's done with Resident Evil Dino Crisis, Evil Within most recently, and I do think there's been interviews of him talking about he wanted to do Tango Gameworks, the studio, because he wanted to usher in a new era of Japanese developers people can fall in love with, and they can build that legacy that Mikami has and Kojima and all of these other developers. And Nakamura apparently has been an apprentice for him for a long time. She's done a lot of character design work. She's kind of been waiting in the wings.
Really worked on Bayonetta?
Yeah, exactly. She's just been in the wings, and she's somebody that he sees a lot of confidence and what's the word I'm looking for? Potential in, yes. And obviously she stole the show. People loved her. The CG trailer looked really cool. So I just thought it was a really cool moment anytime we see the passing of the torch like that. It was really cool. And obviously there's a whole side of it of like her being a female game director is really cool, but that's like a secondary thing to me. It's just like this very well-known designer, Mikami, handing it over to this new person, no matter who it was, man, woman, it's just really cool. So anyways, that's it for me for my last two. Jordan, you want to hit us with your last couple of ones?
So I will do just that. Ghostwire Tokyo, since you didn't necessarily talk about the game specifically, I'll just bridge onto that. Wow, dude. First of all, Japan knows what's up with the trippy shit. Am I right?
Yes.
When it comes to the trippy shit,
yes,
and obviously the horror shit, and then when you have this studio that's already known for, Mikami himself is known for horror, but then they have 2 successful horror games under their belt in the Evil Within series, and then you're gonna drop this trailer in my lap where it's trippy shit, it's scary shit, it's Japanese shit, and it's like just going so fucking hard on all of those points. Like, it did not hold back on like freaking you out. It did not hold back on like, oh, we don't want to get too trippy, too far out here. Like, it went there, right? Which I've been talking a lot about recently. Just fucking go there if you're gonna go there. So obviously we didn't get any gameplay here, which is unfortunate. We talked about that being kind of a unfortunate trend of the show, but I do have confidence in this studio, and I am so excited to see what comes out of this game, because I didn't even mention the fact that it's got like the whole like Leftovers vibe with people just disappearing, Thanos snap style. So a lot of cool stuff going, a lot of cool ideas going into this game, and if you want truly creative ideas in your entertainment, I would say that Japan is a good place to look. And it looks like they're doing it once again with this one. So a lot of different stuff that combined in this trailer to really get me excited for this game. I love the scene transitions, though.
The formal edits, those are so good.
The way that they're editing in between cuts, and wow, man, just a lot of really cool visuals in this reveal trailer here for Ghostwire Tokyo.
Was that your last one? Or do you have one more by chance?
Oh, yeah, just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, here. That's a line I learned from, you guessed it, Jack X Combat Racing. Astral Chain, gentlemen.
Oh, okay. Oh,
now, you know that I love dunking on Platinum Games, and always will since they besmirched the name of my girl Cora. But since then, I have finished Bayonetta 1, as you know, and really enjoyed that game. And looking forward to Bayonetta 3, more news from that. Interesting that it wasn't at the show, even though that's not my biggest disappointment. But it makes sense since they're doing Astral Chain, which really got me on this trailer. Now, it was revealed, was it a direct earlier in the year?
Jared? In February, yeah.
Yeah, so that trailer, I was like, it did not get me. it just wasn't all there for me. It just wasn't. There weren't any hooks. I felt like it wasn't that it wasn't hooking me. I was like, I just don't know that this could hook almost anybody, because that first trailer just didn't have enough substance to me. And this trailer that we just saw for E3 this time was way better. It had a lot more hooks. I think it had a lot more. It gave a lot better explanation of what you're going to be looking at with this game, and it was a much better introduction to what Astral Chain is. I think it's almost like I don't even need the first trailer. If I could just erase that out of my mind, then I'd only be hyped for Astral Chain from the get-go. But yeah, this was a lot more explanatory in a good way. So yeah, I think it's what can you say? It's a Platinum game, so it's not like I was all that surprised with their action RPG, or not even action RPG, just more action game focus.
Did you hear about why some people are worried?
The story. Did I hear?
So, it has actually nothing to do with how the game showed. People are worried because this game comes out August 30th, and though we didn't see Gears 5 gameplay in the briefing, people could play it, right? There was like the escape thing that people could play. There was no gameplay. There was no gameplay demo at E3 for Astral Chain at all.
That is a little worrying.
It was weird. The guys from Easy Allies, speaking about them, Damiani and a couple of the other guys, were talking about it, and they're like, it's weird because like we're excited for this game. It showed all, like you said, but there was literally no gameplay demo for it at all, behind closed doors or not, at E3, and it comes out on August 30th. Very weird.
Yeah, I do remember that now that you mention it. It's certainly not a great note, and I will also say, kind of like I was talking to you guys before the show, like I just have so many games to play on a plethora of consoles at this point. And so there's just not a whole lot of reason for me to run out and buy a bunch of brand new games, and even games that I want, I can wait on and buy them cheaper a month later or whatever. So Astral Chain is certainly one of those situations where I'm, definitely not planning on playing that at 11 o'clock at 11 Central Time on the Thursday.
The meme, Jordan. Every time Platinum Games releases a game, the gods flip a coin.
Exactly, dude. Like we, what would have been their last one?
Travis, No More Heroes. Travis Strikes Again. Or was there something after that?
You're right. There was that would have been them, wouldn't it?
Maybe. Which
that wasn't necessarily a big hit, so maybe we are due for a good one. But then that would mean Bayonetta 3. If it's, I guess it's not one or the other every time, but still, it is a toss-up sometimes if if Platinum is going to churn out a good game, or just most of them aren't stinkers like Korra. Most of them are like these really like mediocre ones.
Mediocre experiments.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But then again, here's one I was surprised we didn't hear about. Sequel to what the fuck is the game called?
Vanquish.
No. It's about the androids.
Detroit Become Human.
No, it's a Platinum game about androids.
Good luck. I'm not the person to ask. It'll probably come to you.
It's Nier.
Nier Automata, yeah. Elon Musk, shout out. To be or not to be.
Yeah, surprised we didn't see more from Nier Automata sequel, but Bayonetta 3, Nier Automata sequel, it's like they've got a lot of projects going at any given time, so yeah, they're just focusing on the game that's coming out the soonest, Astral Chain.
What are your last? How many do you have left, Dom? 2?
So, yeah, 2, but they're also a part of my most excited for, 2019, so I guess that's a good transition into that category.
Well, we're going to be doing the one thing we wish was there, and then we'll hop to most anticipated. But you can still talk about it real quick.
So, next 2 things, Link's Awakening. Obviously, I'm surprised that hasn't come up yet. This is, the original is actually I want to say my least favorite of the 2D Zeldas. Maybe. That might be wrong. Definitely Oracle of Seasons and Ages are by far the best 2D Zeldas. The Link's Awakening was a game that I had on, the original Game Boy when I was a kid. So I'm still super excited for this. And that art style though, it gets to me, and I'm all about it. I'm just ready to play it again, even if it costs more than I think it should.
What about A Link to the Past on the SNES?
Or Link Between Worlds, my favorite 2D Zelda.
Yeah, see, those are both better than Link's Awakening.
See, but A Link to the Past, that 16-bit jump that they made, and Link looks weird. He's got like pink hair. I don't know if it's pink hair or pink hat or what, but other than that game is the one that I'm like, oh, this is the 2D Zelda that I really want to fuck with. It looks so cool.
They're holding that. Yeah. That's going to be the next big remake, dude.
See, that's what I'm saying is like, as much as people talk about that game, I was surprised, because Link's Awakening, Link to the Past are kind of hard to keep up, especially if you haven't played them. So I was kind of like, is that what this is? But this is the Game Boy, not Game Boy Color, but just Game Boy game, right?
Straight up. There were two versions, so it was originally just Game Boy.
They did color it, yeah.
And then they kind of remade it, I don't know, like 5 years later with a couple more colors in there. Still not very colorful, but better than the original.
And they've got Chain Chomps and Mario shit in there because they were reusing the sprites, I found out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they narratively justify it, I guess, but ultimately I think it's a little bit of like, well, just throw these same assets in there.
Yeah.
Do you guys know that?
Don't say the twist. No.
Okay, you don't. All right, that's what I thought.
Do I know the twist? I did just watch a Zelda timeline video on YouTube, and
I just want to spoil it for people too, because a bunch of people it's going to be a new game for them. So I don't even want to risk spoiling it for people who are listening.
Yeah.
I remember the twist. It's fucking wild, bro.
It's cool.
The only negative about this game is it's $60. It's literally the only negative I've heard, which is unfortunate, but
at the same time, I'm buying it, so it's like I can sit here and say it costs too much, but at the end of the day, I'm wrong because I'm fucking buying it. So clearly, it doesn't cost too much.
Well, it's not that it costs too much; it's that it's expensive.
Yeah,
it's also a Nintendo game, which people like justify in their minds that it's like, I think it's a lot more justifiable for people for some reason. Who knows?
Yeah. Anyways, it's weird. I will say that's weird. It kind of sets a weird precedent for Nintendo because it's like almost saying, like, you kind of need to say that
our games are better.
Well, no, it's like you want to say, if I'm them, I would want to set the precedent of like, this isn't Breath of the Wild. This is $40 because Breath of the Wild is the like crazy shit that you're gonna pay $60 for. But they're Nintendo; they can get $60 for both. So why the fuck not? I guess.
Then the counter argument to that is like the next time they were like, if they were to do A Link to the Past remake, right? They'd be like, well, we want to charge $60 for that, but then we charge $40 for Awakening. So it's like, let's just keep everything at $60 because people will buy it. to Dom's point. Yeah. So, what's your other thing, Dom?
Last is Outer Worlds. Easy last pick here. This is the New Vegas sequel that I've been wanting, and no, Fallout 4 was not that. That game trimmed down the RPG elements that made New Vegas and 3 so good, especially New Vegas. But Obsidian seems to be going back in that direction, in a sci-fi, futuristic kind of setting with different planets and that kind of thing. So I'm ready for this. And then to top it all off, I'm pumped that, and we talked about this in our predictions, that this game's going to be on Game Pass at launch.
Day one, yep.
Which is outstanding. Crazy. Like, we speculated, like, wow, it's still being published by not Microsoft, I forget what they're called, right? Even though Microsoft owns the studio now. Private Division is publishing the game. That's what they're called.
Nice.
So I was sure, like, I doubt it's going to be on Game Pass, at least not at launch, just because it's not Microsoft published. But hey, it's there, and I'm pumped. So now it's only going to cost me $10 to play this boy.
So I have a quick question. I hate to go backwards. Are we only going to get remakes of 2D Zeldas now, or are we going to get? I know this Cadence of Hyrule, but are we going to get regular 2D Zelda games?
Yeah, the next one will be regular. I don't think they'll release 2 remakes in a row.
So you do think we're going to get like a brand new 2D Zelda that isn't, Breath of the Wild?
Yeah.
Okay.
Me too. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, because
it's been a big question.
Yeah, I think with Link's Awakening coming out, I think they, in their cadence of scheduling, they want to have a 2D Zelda probably come out in between the major 3D Zelda games, and I don't think Nintendo wants to remake because then you quickly will run out of them and it doesn't feel as special. So I think the next time it's on their schedule, quote unquote, for like a 2D Zelda to come out, it'll be a new idea. The funny thing is with Breath of the Wild sequel, which I don't think any of us had listed, obviously, they said that they had too many ideas for DLC, and that's why they were working on a sequel. And it's actually a lot of the younger developers on Nintendo staff that are working on it, on top of the fact that this point got me excited, but some people were wagging a stinky, cynical finger. A lot of them are actually really into Red Dead Redemption 2, and that will inspire a lot of what happens in the Breath of the Wild sequel. So,
yeah. I am excited for that, even though I didn't mention it. Also, they're making a musical Zelda game, and they're calling it Cadence of Hyrule. I just like the word cadence in a musical games title. I appreciate it.
Real quick, my hot take on Outer Worlds, playing it day one, can't wait. I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of my Game of the Year candidates.
Hot take.
My hot take is I don't think they've done a very good job of marketing that game through trailers and stuff. Personally.
Yeah.
I just don't think...
Yeah. Speaks to me.
Well, no, I just don't think they're selling what's good about the game. They're like, oh, it's wacky and all this wacky stuff, and it's like, it's not selling that the narrative actually is changed by your character. It's being like, you can be an asshole or be a good guy. It doesn't really explain how that translates to the actual story of the game. Like, I just don't think if they're doing a very good job. But I'm like 100% sold. I can't wait to play it.
One of the reasons, you guys want to know one of the reasons I don't love single player, or obviously I love single player, first-person games, it's because it's a cop-out for cutscenes. And that's the Outer Worlds. That's how the Fallout games do it. It's like, there are no cutscenes. There's a whole story, but there's no cutscenes. It's just you walking up to a person and then centering themselves in the fucking camera, looking directly at it, and then you choose dialogue options. I'm like, this could not be a less frills presentation here. It's like there's no frills whatsoever. It's just the person just like standing there all awkward.
To your point, though, the good thing with Cyberpunk is it looks like the cutscenes in that are going to shift to third person.
Right.
So that's good for you.
Now that's the thing. If you're a Wolfenstein, if you're a Cyberpunk, and you're going to be first person, I can handle it if you at least give me actual directed cutscenes with a camera, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, when you pull this bullshit where it's like, you are the camera, you get to direct the cutscene yourself. I'm like, fuck that shit.
I mean, the
thing, I don't like first person.
The thing with Bethesda games and Obsidian is it's not even you get to select. Most of the time it does like the weird like shift focus onto the character as they're talking, like the camera moves and locks into place.
And I noticed that they have this. I'm like,
yeah,
why did you bring that part over from Fallout? That's not one of the good parts from Fallout.
I think it's just they have a quick development cycle, and it's like we already kind of know how to do that. Yeah. We're running a little bit longer than expected, so let's not spend too much time on these last things, but I still want to cover them because we obviously brought them to present. So real quick, the thing I wish was there, Splinter Cell. Now, it's not that Splinter Cell didn't show up. Right. It's not like, oh, it didn't show up, that's unfortunate. It didn't show up, and they showed Sam Fisher in a new mobile game from Ubisoft.
Yeah. And they did a sequel to Rainbow Six. Or maybe like a companion game almost.
Yeah, with a really bad trailer. Just didn't show much. And it was like, it was that thing, right? So it's like they showed off a new Tom Clancy game that wasn't Splinter Cell. Then they showed Sam Fisher in a mobile game. And you're like, oh, of course. Why would they...
Tom Clancy's Elite Squad or whatever.
Yeah, and they're like, they wouldn't show this without showing the new Splinter Cell, would they? And they did. Yep. So that's what...
Well, remember... I keep remembering back to at the end of last year when you're waiting for them to do the one more thing, but instead it's just Eve walking out on stage. But in between that time, the whole thing turned green.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're waiting, like it's in between these sections, and you're like, oh, the stage just turned green. And you're waiting for the of Sam Fisher's fucking goggles. And it's just Eve walking out on stage and all the developers, doing their Saturday Night Live holy hand thing. So it's like, they just keep, like, really fucking teasing you in these, like, really random, non-direct ways, and that's just fucking obnoxious, man. And then you got assholes fucking tweeting out of Sonoma Valley in a wine party about how they're fucking working on it when they're not.
Michael Ironside isn't getting any younger.
Yeah, that's fucking bullshit, dude. And like, you think it's just because they have too many shooters? I think that's what it is.
I think it got to the point where they were like, we're gonna push it to the side because it doesn't sell particularly well. And then by the time they actually greenlit it and put it into development, it was like, oh, next gen's soon. Let's just hold off until next gen because what's the point?
Maybe.
So I'm gonna go through my most anticipated real quick, and then you guys can do your what you missed and most anticipated, so we can get out of here. My honorable mention real quick is Super Mario Maker 2. I was going to add it to the list, but it comes out in a couple of days, actually, by the time this posts.
Yeah.
I already have it pre-ordered, got the $70 version, so I can have that online for when Animal Crossing comes out and Pokemon. It was a good deal, right? Spend 10 extra bucks.
Deals.
Now, my top 5 most anticipated. So I don't have Call of Duty Modern Warfare for the simple fact that they didn't show off any gameplay. I'm excited for that game, but like, I can't be excited if there's no gameplay. And that game comes out soon, too. Number 5, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It was higher on my list. It fell down because we saw a lot more exciting things from the other games at E3, but I'm still really pumped about it. John Berthal came on stage. Shout out to Don for getting roasted for something that was actually correct.
True.
With a dog.
Yeah,
Bam, bam.
I thought the monologue went a little long, but I could hear John Berthal talk about war and the military and all that stuff forever. I just love him. Number 4, Control. I loved Quantum Break.
Yeah, baby.
I can't wait for Control. Bummed about the PlayStation exclusive stuff, but still excited for it nonetheless.
Is it content or what?
Yeah, it's the first DLC episode, comes out on PlayStation first. But still excited for the game.
Okay. That's just dumb.
Remedy's games don't sell particularly well, so I understand, right? Getting some extra cash because... but I think Control has a chance to sell really well for them if it's good, and I think at least it'll be swimming in 7s, but... Hopefully it's better than that.
It's coming out at a good time, man.
Next up, Pokemon Sword and Shield. This is more based on the pre-E3 Direct that they had specifically on the game. I thought during the actual Nintendo Direct is like, why whatever, just showed the water gym. Super stoked. Obviously the wild area looks dope. Some of the Pokemon they revealed during the treehouse, the little electric corgi puppy is adorable, and the little weird troll guy is really cool as well. So excited for that.
Jared, quick note on Pokemon, and I think that this started when we were kids playing it, but I think if you look at the adults that still play Pokemon, this is still true. I lean towards Pokemon that I think look cool.
Yeah, I don't care so much about like how effective they are in battle. It's first like aesthetically, how cool do you look?
But it seems like you're cool with cute Pokemon. I don't really fuck with cute Pokemon.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I want my Pokemon to look like badass.
Well, that's the thing. Those
I think the cute ones. I'm like, oh, you're cute, and I'm not like, fuck you. But I'm just like, I'm not gonna battle with you, even if you're powerful.
So I'm cool with first level cute Pokemon because sometimes they turn into like really intimidating final evolutions.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Final evolutions, I don't really mess with too many cute Pokemon. Like I never rocked with like Wigglytuff or Clefable or any of them.
Right.
I guess Pikachu. Well, Pikachu isn't the final evolution. I don't really like Raichu. I think it's an ugly design personally, but yeah,
it's not necessarily an upgrade from Pikachu.
It's so iconic. But... Like, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Number 2, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. This game, I thought the gameplay looked fantastic. Everything we heard about it, man. The second trailer during the Xbox briefing where it showed you climbing up the AT-AT was really cool. I'm really excited for this game.
Could you feel the difference between this and the single-player campaign from Battlefront 2?
So
I could tell the difference.
I didn't play it, but yeah, from trailers, there clearly there's a budget behind it. There's a focus behind it. Like, the one thing I will say to this game that got me even, this was already number 2 on my list no matter what, but the thing that like solidified it at number 2 was after E3, there was all of these journalists who were talking about how they were kind of disappointed that EA and Respawn didn't sell an aspect of the game that kind of got overlooked, and that this game is apparently a Metroidvania. Like, you're in your ship, and you can choose what specific planet to go to first, and you unlock abilities that when you get those abilities, they give you the opportunity to go to secret areas you can no longer go to on specific planets. So you'll be traveling between planets, going back and forth and unlocking new areas. That's really cool. It's like an added bonus. Can't wait. Who would have thought that the Star Wars game... we kind of talked about early in the year, like, Respawn has a track record, but you always have to worry, right? It's like, ooh, well, hopefully it pans out, and it did, and I'm excited and I can't wait. Number 1, though, Doom Eternal. Like,
ooh, yeah.
Just good lord. Like, so good. Hugo Martin, who's the creative director, he's the chubbier Hispanic guy that goes out on stage. He's such a blast. His personality is just so vibrant. I love whenever he's able to talk about the game. Daniel Dwyer from NoClip was talking about how he ran into him at E3, and they spent 25 minutes talking about From Software's combat in Sekiro. So he's a very big gameplay guy, which shows because he's the creative director for one of the most iconic shooters, and it's one of the smoothest, fastest-paced, well-crafted shooting games, right? The reboot in 2016 just felt great. So this is more of the same with some really crazy moments, some cool new tools. There's like traps you can activate. They talked about in interviews how one of the problems with the first game is that you can get locked in a specific gun and kind of always want to use it. So they're kind of forcing your hand into wanting to try other stuff. They're not going to make it so you can't do that throughout the game of playing with one weapon, but they're going to do some things like limiting some ammo to kind of have you try out some differing weapons. And they've added enemies to specifically nerf powerful things in the game. So the rocket launcher was pretty powerful in 2016. They specifically added a new demon that will spawn walls in front of the player. So if you're not paying attention, you can shoot a rocket right into a wall and kill yourself, which is really cool. So I just think it looks really good. It's exactly what I expect and more. Shout out to Bethesda. Like Ghostwire and Deathloop have the possibility for those two studios to go into the next generation with games that might sell better than their previous franchises, right? And Wolfenstein Youngblood is like a $30 game that I can't wait to sink into as well. It's so close that it was hard for me to put it on this list, but yeah, Doom Eternal's number 1 for me. Can't wait to play it. Yeah. So for you guys, let me know what you wish was there and your 5 most anticipated, and then we'll call it a show.
Alrighty then. Great choices, Jared. You might see them over on this list.
Shout out to Outer Worlds as well. Didn't mention it, but it's up there.
Yeah. Biggest miss, and I'm crestfallen is a word that I would like to use more often. I am crestfallen that we did not see a new BioShock this year, boys.
Yeah, that's another one. I think they might be waiting for next gen to show that bad boy off. Unfortunately,
and that's we're still even without PlayStation there, I still had such a great time watching this year's E3 as I do, and but it's not even about PlayStation not being there. It's about like you can feel the transition to next gen,
year,
right? Like
yeah.
You can feel it's like a sports rebuilding year. It's like yeah, we got a lot of freshmen and sophomores. We're just not quite there yet, and that's how it feels. So yeah, it's sad, but yeah, we've mentioned multiple games on this podcast that Jared, you backed it up with. I think that we will see, maybe not at E3 coming up, but we will be seeing these games within the next year or so. Splinter Cell, BioShock, what have you. It's just that they are for next gen, and you want to get people excited about the games that are still coming out before next gen.
And the platform holders want to have like a demo reel of why people should buy their next console, right? So it's like they're partnering with these third-party publishers. Yeah.
And man, when you think about it, like the games that have come out and that could use sequels, or the studios that have had a game come out, like that's probably why we didn't see Rocksteady. Rocksteady's probably debuting on next gen,
And Montreal,
yeah, Ubisoft, or not Ubisoft, WB Montreal. So yeah, it's entirely possible that that's the case, and that we're about to just get a rock and roll, melt your face off lineup for next gen, which I really hope is the case. So
Xbox launching with Halo is cool for me because that's a game that I can't wait to play at launch, and since I have Game Pass, it's free. It's like a double whammy. Oh, so awesome.
You think that Xbox Scarlet games are going to be starting off on Games Pass too?
Yeah. Cool. So a couple of things. One, Phil Spencer basically said that your entire Xbox library will be available day one. He kind of confirmed that during E3, which is dope. And the second thing is there's a big rumor going around now that they're no longer doing the 3 different consoles. They're focusing on one console. Because remember, there was a rumor of like the streaming one and the big boy. Apparently, those were like early development plans, and they're no longer the case. Sorry, go ahead.
Interesting. No, you're good, man. So since we're doing 5 here, and my list is very similar to yours, Jared, I'm just gonna say, shout out to Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Shout out to Pokemon Shield in particular.
Oh, you're getting Shield.
Although I will say,
I'm getting Sword, so we'll have different ones. That's cool. I didn't know you were getting Shield.
Yeah, I think we talked about this when it was unveiled.
I don't think I was sure of which one I was getting. I know you were. I just wasn't sure.
See, that's the thing is, I decided because I knew all the cool kids were gonna. Not that you're trying to be that way, but that all the cool kids were gonna be getting Sword, right? And so I was like, you know what? I think it'll be cool to have Shield, and usually I go with the first of the two. That doesn't even make sense, but it does.
I know what you mean.
Like Sun and Moon. I played Sun, and so I may have rolled the dice and bet on the wrong horse here, or wolf, if you will, because I think the Sword Legendary is the one Pokemon that they've unveiled that has actually been like, oh, cool.
It's Sif. Yeah, it's Sif from Dark Souls. Or from mythology.
And then the Shield one, it's like it's almost there, and I could totally see that being cool, of like a almost like a breastplate on a wolf, like coming off of his face, but like they just didn't nail it.
It's over designed. So, it's too complicated.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that as we've gone on with Pokemon, Jared, that's only become more of a problem.
Well, the reason the first 2 generations. Sorry to interject. The reason the first 2 generations are more beloved and actually more memorable is because they are so simplistic in their design, right?
Iconic.
Yeah. So it's weird because as the generations go on, one thing people don't think about is the naming of these Pokemon. Pokemon Company has to come up with names that they can trademark. So it gets more difficult the more you add. So.
And they're like around 1,000 now, so that's
yes.
fucking wild. Also, shout out to Control, which you said. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of Remedy after playing Quantum Break. Huge fan of Quantum Break, as you know. It's a great superhero game. And Control is got some really similar vibes to the not the Sprawl trilogy, the I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one that Annihilation is from, and has some very similar vibes to the Annihilation and its sequels novels. So we'll see how that goes here right after my birthday. So then you also said Jedi Fallen Order, Jared. Of course, I am very much into Star Wars and would like to see a good Star Wars video game. I'd like to see a good Star Wars anything at this point. Haha.
You like Solo though, right? Yeah, I think you were.
No, that's the thing. It's like I've enjoyed stuff from Disney. I do think that it has not gone over well generally, but the comics especially, dude. I'm super into all the Marvel comics that have been coming. Not all of them, but plenty of them. So, but I will say, much happier vibes for Fallen Order than for Battlefront 2's campaign, which I was very, I was really hopeful for. Didn't turn out so well. And then, so the other 2 that you didn't mention that I have here, one being Borderlands 3. I'll just say, I've dabbled a little bit with the Handsome Jack collection. We'll see if I mess around with that much. I think I'm going to stop trying to like play games in anticipation for others, like, catch up on a game series or whatever. Yeah. If I want to do the previous ones, then I'll do it, but I'm not like trying to hit the release date of the game, and then if not, I may be a little more relaxed on chronology and how I approach that. Side note there. But anyways, with Borderlands 3, I think that I'm just going to have a good time with it, man. And may not get a day one, I might, but it's just a game to have some fun shooting shit, and it's, you know, perfect kind of podcast game, or throw some anime on in the background, whatever. So that is going to be a game that I don't take too seriously, which you shouldn't, because it's a very goofy game. And then finally, I'm going to consider it an E3 game, Death Stranding. I know it technically wasn't at the show, but we got that.
Well, it's most anticipated,
trailer.
So it counts. It's not. They didn't have to be E3 games necessarily.
Yeah, I guess we're talking about most anticipated of 2019. So I ain't even got to justify shit to you. But yeah, it's okay. So we saw that trailer, right? And I gotta say, the combat was looking a little bit rough. Did it look rough to you guys?
I thought the combat and the shooting were like the worst parts of it. I thought the world and like the weirdness and the Kojima-ness was great. I thought like the actual gameplay was like meh. But
yeah, it's weird because obviously up until this point they focused so much on story and world, right, Jared? But then this trailer's just got quick flashes like, we're giving the release day, we're trying to get people pre-order, and I guess we gotta show them some type of shit other than, you know, Norman Reedus walking up a fucking hill and pulling his toenails off. So that's what they did here. But they were very quick flashes. You didn't get much, and it didn't look great when you did. So that part I am worried about, but I am so engorged. I don't know.
Gross.
I am so engrossed is the word I was looking for, Jared. Engrossed by the lore, world, story, whatever you want to call it, that they have set up. The kind of short film trailers that they've done up until now have had some really cool stuff, and obviously you guys know I'm super into like sci-fi, and if it's getting far out, I'm even more into it. So multi-dimensional beings that are stepping through multiple planes of reality, and you have, you know, doomsday events happening. You have Cthulhu looking type monsters beaming in, and you got these babies and tubes. I don't know, man, it's just cool. And then you got like the cast additions have been really great. In this latest trailer they showed that Mama is going to be played by I can't remember her name, but she is I know her from The Leftovers. So each time that they've added a cast member, I've been like, yeah, dude, that's cool. I'm down with that person. And yeah, there's certainly, you know, famous people in this, Norman Reedus being one of them, but that does not seem to be the focus. You know, Mads Mikkelsen isn't in this game because he's famous. It's because Kojima fucking loves his acting and has a character ready for him. Now, I will say the two directors that are in this are apparently not voiced by themselves, Jared.
Yeah, it's confirmed. Guillermo del Toro and the other guy.
So what the fuck? Why do you have Guillermo del Toro and Nicholas Winding Refn in this movie, or in this game? I'm sorry, they're directors of movies. If you're not gonna do the whole them voicing themselves thing, like you have the whole,
because they're doing Kojima a favor, but they don't have the time to do the voice acting. I'd assume they're like, here, we'll come in for a quick scan of our body model, but I got stuff I need to do. Yeah.
But are they doing the acting for the body?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think it's just a rig. I think they probably have the actual voice actor probably doing it.
Okay, so you think it's literally just their like likeness pasted onto this model?
Yeah, I almost guarantee that's probably the case.
That's like kind of bunk, dude. Like, if you're gonna scan someone into a video game, but they're like, "Oh, we don't have enough time to be a voice actor."
But Kojima's a weirdo like that. Kojima's like, "I just want you to be in my game, in any way possible."
That's weird and like not in a great way.
Yeah,
I don't know, but it's especially since, you know, Nicholas Winding Refn was just popped up in this trailer, but then, which even with there already being a director in this game, I was like, wait, what the fuck? And even me knowing about Kojima's love for his movies, it was still weird. But yeah, Guillermo's been in it since like the second trailer and is like, you know, coming off the whole Silent Hill thing, it's just weird. But that's what Death Stranding is. It's fucking weird, and nonetheless, I'm excited for it. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to be looking at the reviews on this one, and who knows? I might just end up watching the fucking cutscenes on YouTube. I'm not completely sure, but yeah, I am engrossed by the story setup that we have so far.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how successful this game will be, because I don't think it's as strong as a straight shot in terms of it being great, but we'll see. It's very interesting. Yeah. I'll give it that.
Now, I will say this much, boys, and you too. I remember a couple of jokes from you about, I'll be having my third grandchild before I play that Death Stranding game. Yeah. If this motherfucker comes out before 2020 starts, I'm going to be laughing. Because I was like, you never know. I mean...
Could get delayed.
He's getting this shit together real quick with his studio and this Sony deal and all that, and... I hate to say I told you so, but...
Yeah, I'm with you, like, because I was obviously one of those people, but it's one of those weird things where it's like, why did we all have that idea in our head? If you, like, do the math, I don't think it's that weird that it's coming out this year.
Well, we also have the assumption that this is a long game. We also don't know how long it is.
Also,
shorter the game, the quicker the development time.
He was getting his studio together. He's taken a long time on other games before, particularly MGS5,
blowing up that
like
budget,
Ground Zeroes, and then like MGS5 Phantom Pain like technically doesn't even have its full ending that it was meant to, because he was just trying to make the game and would never stop. So eventually Konami just had to have him put it out.
We're running super long here, Dom. So let's get through everything on your list, and then we'll close out.
So, all but one... well, actually, let me start with the one thing I missed that I was hoping we'd see was a Fable game. That's something that, we had Fable 3 on, I think, Xbox 360, so that's aged a bit. So I just thought, like, a current gen or even next gen Fable game, out of one of the Microsoft...
Playground.
It sucks when you're, like, waiting on one of your favorite series to finally get on this generation.
I don't know. I was really sure it was going to be here, like that Microsoft was going to have a big new thing, from one of their first party studios, right? Then it just wasn't there. But I'm still. It's give it another year, another 2 years, whatever. You know what I mean?
That game. I'll make a bet right now, and I don't know what we can have as the stakes, but that game will be at E3 next year. I'd put my life savings on it.
Yeah, I would bet too. But, yeah. I wish we had that some good stuff from that this year, but I still am with you, and I'm pretty confident that it's being made and it's what we want. So as far as
are we looking at consoles coming out next fall, and so E3 2020 is all these big reveals of next gen games then?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a mix of games that are going to come out launch window, and then I think we're going to see games that are like, yo, we're early in development, but this is gonna release in maybe 2 or 3 years. But here's the promise for the console, right? Because I think that's the most acceptable time is when a console's launching. That's when people are more friendly to the idea of seeing games that are kind of far out. When we're in the middle of a gen, we don't want to see a game that's still 4 years away. You know what I mean? Everything's already going. So I think a lot of these companies are like, here's our entry point to show off something early. Even if it's a tease for the next generation of games. And I think Microsoft and Sony are going to be like, give us everything you can because we want to sell this next platform, So
then, are we going to see any AAA games at E3 next year that are just for this gen?
Just for this gen? No.
Yeah. I think so. Why not?
Just for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One that don't come to the next gen consoles?
AAA
why
games.
Not? Yeah.
Because that hasn't happened.
Well... If E3 is in June of next year and the new consoles are that fall, I don't know, Dom. We may only see like 1 or 2 at most AAA games at E3 next year that aren't
just. I think there will be games that come out for both platforms.
Yeah, cross-platform.
Yeah, 100%.
I should say.
But just PS4, Xbox One, no.
Yeah, I think we get a handful of that. Why not? It's still going to be like the biggest platforms. I mean.
Yeah, but why would they release one SKU for the old platform? Wouldn't they just make the most of it and have it on both next gen
compatibility? People are talking about all these games being possibly cross gen, but if they're gonna like just boost mode the shit out of your PS4 games already. It's like, do we need a PS5 version of Death Stranding or whatever? You know?
I think that's kind of what I'm.
But the boost is different than the boost is different than an actual port though, because it's not going to be exactly the 1-to-1, you know, in terms of performance.
I think we'll probably see some of those where like this is a PS4 game, but PS5 is backwards compatible, so like it'll probably be a higher resolution or more stable on PS5.
And
because they are going to be 4K assets, right, Jared? You know, even if they're developed for this gen.
Yeah, I guess so. And to your point, were you saying new games or any games? Because like Ghost of Tsushima, Tsushima, that could come out just on PS4. But
yeah, exactly.
I'm talking about games unveiled.
Oh yeah, unveiled games? No, I think zero chance that they're just for this gen.
Okay. Yeah, like stuff we don't even know about yet, of course.
Exactly.
I'm talking about reveals. Yeah.
Reveals, 0% chance that it's just for this gen.
Yeah, that's way more unlikely.
So that gets me more excited about E3 next year then.
Yeah, because if we're talking about games that we've seen but haven't come out yet, I'm with them. I think there's a handful at least that'll be.
Because if we were gonna have another transitional year where it's like, well, the new consoles technically don't come out till this fall, so this E3 is still in last gen.
Well, we're still not sure of when the PS5 is coming out and what PlayStation's plan is, so it's tough to speculate for them.
Sure.
But with Xbox, we know it's coming out holiday 2020. And we know your games are all your library is going to be compatible, and we know Halo's launching, right? So we already know how Phil's trying to handle the next generation of consoles and not wanting to repeat 2013. So I do think we're see a lot of stuff on Xbox's stage. Is Sony at E3? Are they doing their own thing? What's their plan? When's the console coming out? We don't know any of that, so it's tough. But I think at least from Microsoft, we'll see the next generation revealed. So we'll see. Give us your 5 most anticipated.
After that very long tangent. Sorry, Dom.
What's
my wonderings about next year's E3?
What are your 5 most anticipated?
We already hit on 4 of them. We talked a lot about Fallen Order. I cannot wait for that.
Yep.
Doom, Wolfenstein, Outer Worlds. We've talked about a bunch already. The last thing I do want to mention that I'm excited for this year is Fallout 76. You guys. A lot of cool stuff got announced.
Wow.
It's all free.
That is true. If I owned the game, I'd be stoked. I just don't own the game.
Yeah.
Nuclear Winter, are you excited for that?
I played one round of that Battle Royale, and it was awesome. I mean, it's, janky Fallout type, shooting mechanics, but I know it was going to sound dumb, but that kind of made it fun, and, it's a little, level playing field where, I've kind of lost, my first-person shooter coordination, in Apex.
That is weird, man.
World.
Because Fallout games, the single player campaigns, they never focus on that because of the lack
more
of
tactical
excellence when it comes to the shooting mechanics, and so for them to just have this whole game mode focusing on that is wild.
You want to hear something even more wild? Because I think this happened before we started the podcast. I played through Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas not even knowing there was a VAT system.
Stop.
Dude.
No. Oh, I'm sorry.
And I enjoyed those games. No, I didn't have any issue with it. I actually didn't really even use VATS much in Fallout 4 either. I just don't like it that much. It's not that it's not bad, good or anything. It's just not. I got so used to playing without it,
Yeah, dude. We're getting this Battle Royale mode, which I already like.
Human NPCs?
That was like, I mean, they should have been there from the start probably, but nonetheless, it's cool that they're adding that back in, and again, for free. So these are huge, major updates for free. Granted, the microtransactions in that game are absolutely. Don't buy any of that shit.
Well, it's
man.
a free to play.
They're expensive.
Yeah.
Oh man. But at least there's no loot box type shit. Oh man. I forgot though, because I started playing the game in general again, the actual mode, and you can't. I have to Google and ask some questions, but I can't repair my shit anymore. I have to buy repair kits, and I can only do that with microtransactions. Please, I hope I'm wrong, but
so you can't find those out in the world?
Oh my god! If this is how it is now, I literally might burn the damn disc in a fire pit because.
How do you think Nintendo's going to monetize Breath of the Wild 2? Going to pay for those repair kits for your weapons, boys?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
There has to be a solution in the game. I just haven't found it.
Is the situation, Dom, that you start the game you acquire or have a certain amount of repair kits, and then once you run out, there's no more in the world to go find. You just have to buy them?
No, there never used to be repair kits at all. It was like you would find materials, duct tape, adhesive, lead,
scrap. I think metal, there's something added that maybe you don't know about.
There must be.
The optimist in me believes that there is a system that was put in place, because if they weren't there at launch, there was probably a new system where it's like you do it in-game or you purchase it. I would do a little bit more Googling around.
Maybe people were tired of finding all those individual pieces.
Yeah. Maybe there's a certain vendor or something you have to go to for them. Who knows?
I got to figure it out, because I was like, when I saw that, I'm like, this isn't real. This isn't how they're doing this, because and I ended at that, actually, and I forgot it. It soured me really bad, but everything else, like, it's cool they announced this free stuff, so I'm hyped.
Also, shout out to Luigi's Mansion 3 for looking dope, except still no release date. It comes out in 2019. Very weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's it for this show. Next week, we'll be returning to our normal format. We're talking about everything we've been playing and what we expect to play and all of that good stuff. Speaking about whatever news comes out. Obviously, post E3, it's pretty slow news here and there, so we'll see what we can scramble up. Thank you guys for listening. If you can, please follow us on Twitter at CTRLINT. We tweet all of the latest episodes and a bunch of gaming-related news and content. I am at Jared_. Dom is at Dom's Oreos. Jordan is at Malamotis. Go to YouTube, search Controlled Interest, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know when we upload. You can like the video to help us grow as well. On iTunes, if you're following us there and you only listen to the podcast, please leave us a review. It definitely helps in the algorithm for us to move up the charts. The more people hearing the podcast, the bigger our audience grows, the better content we can deliver to you guys. And we'll catch you guys next time with episode 150. Might be a special game I come up with to celebrate 150. There might not be. Don't get your hopes up. Who knows? We'll catch you guys next time.
Dude, what? I got my hopes up.
Bye.